Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Weekly Update. It is Friday, March 22nd, and as usual, there's a lot going on. Let's head into it. We do have the remains of Cyclone Megan that is likely to linger over the Northern Territory for the next week. Now, before this, we had all of that wet weather that was coming down into the west. That is no more. Things have shifted. The pattern has shifted further eastwards. So what we're going to have is this is just a big ball of moisture that is going to push rain out across Queensland and into northern parts of New South Wales as well. So this is what the pattern is over the next week pretty much. What that means is we've got a big ridge of high pressure across the south, and so that is producing no wet weather, essentially. It's producing a little bit of wet weather, but that's it. So here it is in action. There's our high pressure system right across the south there. So it means that the future cold fronts just clip Tasmania and kind of just have a very weak effect in the southeast and literally no effect over there at all. So that is very stubborn. It's going to be there for quite some time. Once all of this moves further eastwards, we get to see the warmth. So we've got it in Perth. We're likely to see it in Adelaide later this week, and then for Easter in the southeast too. Meanwhile, this low is sitting here. Troughs are bringing it all into here. If we get a cut-off low, then we'll get even more intense rain for a wider area wherever that ends up travelling through. But this is a stagnant pattern that will be with us. So this is what it looks like. All of the rain falling over the Northern Territory and spreading in all through these parts of Queensland. So I am expecting there won't even be a corner of Queensland that won't be hit by this. So there is wet weather over the next week, day after day after day. You can see it just dipping into northern parts of New South Wales, but right across the south, there is nothing. That ridge of high pressure is blocking all of that wet weather from coming in. And here are the cold fronts just clipping Tasmania. So we get hit in the west and nothing happens in the east through here. Okay, so what is that showing us? We'd expect this, here's the Euro seasonal forecast just for next week, and expect all of the greens, so the precipitation, so the above average wet weather, to be all through these parts here. Now this is dipping it down here just into Victoria, just into these parts of South Australia. This is some older guidance. I don't think it's going to quite come this far down, but something to keep an eye on. Definitely all through these parts here, northern New South Wales, slight risk, southern New South Wales, and just into northern Victoria, southeastern parts of South Australia. That is more of a up in the air and definitely much later in the period. So something to keep an eye on. Having a look at the temperature for that, yep, you'd expect all of the blues to be in through here. So there's all of the cloud, all of the wet weather. We've got some cloud that's likely to come down in through here, but not affecting the southwest. That is going to be continuing on a warm streak. And in the southeast, we're likely to warm up, particularly at the end of next week as we go into Easter. Let's have a look at week 2. So this is the 25th of March through to the beginning of April. Nope, that's next week. Let's look at week 2. So this is the 1st of April through to the 8th of April. So the first week of April, this is week 2. We've got dry conditions all in through here, so likely to be drier than average. We've got a hint of green through here, but nothing like we saw in the week before. So we don't have that anymore. Jumping here, but it's definitely not brown. So this is more of a 50-50 that it could continue, and we're likely to see some coastal activity there as well. But all through these areas are looking at being drier than average. The temperature to correspond with that is interesting. So continuing in through here, this is definitely the first week of April, continuing there, and some colder weather coming down into the southeast as well. But here is a common feature that we're seeing, the southwest continuing to be warmer than average. If you're looking at the autumn break, which is hopefully approaching, we're going to look at what the Indian Ocean dipole's doing and what Pacific Ocean is doing as well. But let's just go through the map. Now, with these forecasts, they get less and less, well, as with any forecast, they get less and less accurate as you move out, but also less and less detailed. So let's go through the second week of April here. Still, fair bit of dry that is focusing on the west, and then a 50-50 through the east there. Let's have a look at the next week. So the 15th to the 22nd, drier, 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 otherwise 50-50. Not seeing a lot of green on these maps though. And as we go through the next one, so this is around Anzac Day, drier, drier, but 50-50. Not really seeing much of a green signal on that. So read into that what you will about what the autumn break is going to be like. I'll head to the Indian Ocean in a sec. Okay, let's have a look at SAM. So southern annular mode, when that goes sharply negative, we get strong cold fronts move through. That's why the nights in the southeast are now a lot chillier. We've had our first significant cold outbreak of the season. That one has rebounded, unlikely to remain in neutral over the next week, and the longer term period here, those forecasts always show neutral. But so over the next week, likely to be neutral. All right, having a look at the MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation. This is tropical activity visiting our north. We had it moving through here, which caused a lot of, let me just move that, a lot of wet weather that was moving through western parts of the nation. Then now it's moving further over here. It's kind of like you've got the western part and you've got the eastern part. We're in this green zone. Green zone is Australia. So now we're moving through here. That's why it is shifting to the Northern Territory and Queensland. Now starting to come out, and so we're moving through here as the forecast. Still quite close to us, so still going to see some impacts over the next week, but then perhaps weakening off, which is why those rainfall maps went, yes, we have the big wet now, but not a lot of signal of that from next week, and then nothing after that, because perhaps it's because the MJO is moving away. So we're here, we're in the thick of it, but likely to get less of an influence from that as we move forward. Let's have a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly. So how much warmer or cooler than average this is. We have a look at the boxes. So let's start with the Pacific, and we have all of this still looking quite yellow, but this guy here, this is a blue bit that has developed over the past couple of weeks. We had another little blue bit that came in through here, has now disappeared, but I'm going to show you what's happening under the ocean in a sec. Having a look over at the Indian Ocean, and this box is all yellow. We've had some blue parts developing off through here. This is all cyclone related and monsoon related. So not a complete sign that we're going blue over here, yellow over there. There's our dipole pushing the rain away from Australia. This is more just because of the weather systems that are moving through now. So the Indian Ocean dipole is not relevant at this time of year. The forecasts for it, though, are. So we'll get to those. Having a look at the Pacific Ocean, let's have a look underneath. Strange map, but I'll walk you through it. So not just the top of the ocean anymore. This is the depths of the ocean. November, December, January, February. Over on this side, we have Australia. Over on this side, we have South America. And this is the how much warmer or cooler than average it is underneath. So we're looking for big blobs of blue. That's known as a Kelvin wave. But what happens here? Here it developed. Here it spread out. By January, it was all the way through here. And by February, it is knocking at that door. So over here is that box that we have a look at. And we're starting to see some blue come through. And this is the first stage of that box changing. All of this may be able to rise to the surface and take the yellow away from here and replace it with those cooler blue colors. When we have blue out there and we have red off here, that is a shift in the Pacific, and that means that the moisture is now pushed towards Australia. So let's have a look at the forecast there. Here we are, still in our strong El Nino, but it is weakening. We're very near that threshold now, so it's about to go across. So this is the very end of this El Nino, which was strong, but didn't have all of the impacts in Australia, particularly before the last week of January in the southeast, because the Tasman Sea was able to send a lot of moisture in there instead. Okay, here we are now. Each and every model is taking us out of it. The latest guidance from the US and all of the different international agencies are showing that we do have a, I'm just going to lay it on the table there, we do have a strong chance that we are going into a La Nina, i.e. down in the green zone here. And what that does is help push moisture towards Australia. We had it for 3 years, then we went into El Nino. Now it looks like we're going back into La Nina. That's where we're likely to be. Not as we begin winter, but definitely, not definitely, but all of them are showing it. That's what the prognosis is as we go through spring and then into summer. So this is the big shift in the Pacific Ocean. Having a look at the Indian Ocean, this has been jumping around because we've had our cyclones moving through. It's the monsoon time of year, so this isn't reflective of what's actually occurring from one side of the ocean to the other, but the forecasts from here are. So here they are, likely to have, each and every one is going across that threshold into a positive Indian Ocean dipole. What that does is essentially takes the moisture and pushes it away from Australia. So this is telling us that for Australia here, we're likely to have the moisture pushed away from the northwest, but from the northeast, we're likely to have that moisture pushed towards us. So one is pushing away, the other one is pushing it towards. So the Pacific Ocean is going to be our source of moisture for the year ahead, whereas the Indian Ocean likely to not be. But what do we have here? Here is, as we're going through autumn and into winter, but spring, it's taking it out of it, each of these models here. There's only a couple that forecast that far out, Are they heading down? Does that mean it might be a wet finish from the Indian Ocean too? So Pacific, most likely to be sending moisture our way. Indian Ocean, pushing it away to start for autumn and for winter, but may come and help us out as we end the year. Okay, let's have a look at a bit of guidance. So let's just go back to this rain map first of all. All of the big falls are in through here. So I've chosen Gatton to have a look at today and Charleville, so both in Queensland there. And let's just go through and see how much rain is on the way. I'll just move that out. And we have 10, 3, 10, 18, 4. So this is the average across all of the weather models. Now, one of those weather models is generally going with 0. Other ones are going for much heavier falls. But overall, the average is 45 for this particular spot. Not much happening today. Not much happening tomorrow, but then it ramps up. So here we are, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday. So this is a fairly long stretch. The trough is there. The source of moisture is there, day after day after day of rain moving through and hit and miss showers and thunderstorms. If you're directly under one of those, you're looking at a heavy fall. Let's have a look now at Charleville. And I'll just close this for a second and we'll move back in through here. So some activity today, a bit more tomorrow, and then Sunday looks to be a lot, Monday a lot, Tuesday a lot, Wednesday a lot. This pattern is day after day after day. Now, let me pull out the left-hand slider is what we call it here, so the forecast summary. This is a new product in Jane's Weather Pro that is about to be released. I thought I'd give you a bit of a sneak preview of that today. So here we are in Charleville, and these are the hours that thunderstorms are a risk today. Rain or snow, dry all through here. This is when rain is in the area. Temperature, what that's likely to do, with a handy little guide there so you can see a snapshot of what that's doing. Wind gusts, color-coded. You can see there's nothing strong there. It's breezy at the moment. Spraying conditions, good, marginal, unsuitable. This is using delta T, but also wind, temperature, and cloud cover. And the number you've got in there is the delta T. So we can see when we're actually good to go and when we are not. And frost, definitely not an issue in Charleville this week. But we can move through time here. And so here's Saturday. And you can see there is a window if you do need to spray, but the rest of it is not suitable. And what the wind is doing, nothing much. When the storms are, when the wet weather is, what the temperature does. And that's each and every day there, so you can get a really good idea of what's happening. Okay, another one that is about to be released is our Now. This is again for Jane's Weather Pro. Do sign up for the trial if you haven't yet. And this is showing us a particular weather station. I don't have the name there, but it is in Queensland and it's currently 25 degrees. We've got what our wind is doing. You can see the dew point. It's this rating. You can see delta T is this rating. So these are the current conditions and the extremes. Rain since 9 o'clock, the cutoff before that, what our low was overnight, what our daytime high is, what the highest wind gust is. This will also have tables and graphs that show the history and combine that with the forecast. But this part here is about to be released. Head to janesweather.com for the latest forecast. I'll see you again next week. Bye.